And then he amazingly said, yeah, I've been listening to it. I think it's really good. And I was like, wow, my goodness. As I ran, shown Carrie, my girlfriend, just like, look. And then I didn't think anything of it. And then I tried to send emails out to Mark Hagan and Bob Harris and everything, and you hear nothing. And then so that was the Sunday, I think it was. So then on the Thursday, which of course is always Bob Harris Country Show Day for us country fans, I was just on my phone and I looked on Instagram, and Mark Hagan always puts a little snap up of the A4 printed sheet of the playlist for the show. And on Instagram, you can't zoom in. You have to use two thumbs or thumb and a finger, and it just stays there for as long as you hold your hand there. I just zoomed in like that. I can't tell you what I just saw. That second on the list was Bob Fitzgerald, One of These Nights. So Kerry was upstairs, so I just ran upstairs, and after much shaking and deliberating and dropping to my knees for one moment, she sort of gently moved me away from the top of the stairs, because like my heart was racing. She was like, move away, just be safe. So it was absolutely insane. And then so to hear, I know I'm going on, but to hear the soundtrack of my life for so many years, Bob Harris, that jingle at the beginning, and I've heard it so many times and thought, how the heck do you get material on there, and how does that work? And one day. And then it's just too surreal that night you sit down and you listen to Willie Nelson, On the Road Again. And then you hear Bob say, it really is one of these nights. And then he plays your track. And then after that, they play Need You Now by Lady Antebellum. What?
That's crazy. So I want to talk a bit about recording at Puzzle Maker Studios, but I'm conscious we've been talking for a bit, so let's have a bit of music. I think you're going to do She'll Do.
See, I know what I'm after, but I don't know where it's to be found. I'll take what I'm given till you come around. She's blonde hair, pretty blue eyes, but I'm not really sure what I see. I think I could love her, but I won't be sure until you're loving me. She'll do all that she can. She'll do that to make me her man. Yes, she'll do more than I need. Just she'll do till I find you. Till I find you. Till I find you. Till I find you.
Love it. Talk to me about that song then. What was the inspiration behind that one?
It's one of the, as a songwriter, you get the opportunity to pull together lots of experiences and that you may have had, and lots of things you've thought about, and lots of experiences other people have had. So it's kind of a combination of all those things. I think one of the most honest responses I've had to that song was Stefan, the guitarist in the band, his good lady partner, said, "We've all been there," and I was really not pleased to hear that. But I thought, yeah, okay, you get it then. That's great, because you can't say we've all been there, but it's a human condition, isn't it? The human condition is just a incredibly interesting thing, and there's elements of it that are experiences that I've had, and elements of it that are finding the narrative within the song. I mean, I always view the protagonist of the song as a really sad man. He's some people have said they find it quite amusing, that song, but others have kind of had the reaction that, he doesn't sound very nice, him, but I've always seen it as quite a sad song.
It's interesting how people perceive different songs in different ways, isn't it?
Oh, totally. It's wonderful. I've been doing it my whole life, and now I'm privileged that people are interpreting my songs in the way that makes sense to them.
So let's go on to discussing the EP, Another Highway, which, if you haven't heard it, is truly incredible. It's recorded at Puzzlemaker Studios, which, if you don't know, is home of Danny McMahon, recording artist himself, and Andrea Succi. It's just so good. The production is spot on. Talk to me about the recording process.
Well, this is the Monkey Shed, right? And people who've been watching my social media know and gotten used to this. And I produce my demo recordings here. I write the drums, the bass, because I'm blessed enough to be able to play all those instruments, so I can write the drums and the bass and the guitars and all of that, and do the vocals, and so I do it all here. So I reached out to Puzzlemaker because I kept seeing the name Danny McMahon on social media, and initially I thought I need to contact somebody and see if somebody's willing to give me some advice about how to jump into this UK country scene. And I kept seeing the name Danny McMahon, so I Facebook messaged him, and then a while later he got back, and we chatted a bit back and forth. And he said, "Well, why don't you come to I run a studio with my best friend and business partner, Andrea Succi, Drea." So he said, "Come along and have a chat." So I turned up, and we had a chat. And for a long time, doing this with the support of everybody in my family is amazing. But I was desperate to find a co-conspirator in terms of country musician, fellow kind of, I don't know, because it was hard to put a band together when you've just got these demos. And I had a few false starts, but I've got a great band now. So I go and see Danny, and they got it. And I'd sent them some demos ahead, and they'd listened, and they were like, "We totally get this," because my demos are fully produced. The different. Yeah. I know Danny, Andrea, and Tyler, who plays bass in my band, but also plays bass for Danny and does a lot of other stuff. He's a great YouTuber. They do a podcast, and Drea was talking about it, saying I turned up with everything. Because quite often, I think the way they work is somebody turns up with an acoustic guitar and says, "Well, I got a song," and then they build the track. But that wasn't the way that Another Highway worked. I have to, though, be careful that it doesn't sound like I just said, "Oh, we turned up when we just remade my demos." We did to a certain degree, but then they brought that production, and there's loads of bits and pieces in there that I wouldn't have considered maybe putting in, and just the like, okay, let's chunk it down, because I've got a tendency to make my songs maybe a little bit longer than they need to be, and we knew we were going for out of the gate radio play, so 4 minutes. Let's make those choices. My favorite part of the process was them producing me doing the vocals and just being in the vocal booth and singing, and having two people say, no, okay, like, try to calm, and like butter was a great phrase that was used a lot, like butter, like butter, rather than forcing, because there's a tendency when you, as a live musician, to go into the studio to force it. So I cannot give them enough credit, because my production here is I can't get it broadcast quality. If you listen musically to the demos that I made here and the songs on Another Highway, you would see them as exactly the same songs and pretty much a lot of the same musical parts, but they just do not sound the same. That production and the mix was Drea might say painstaking as well, because he sent me a mix, and I was like, no, I got to come in, man. We got to sit side by side and do this, because as much as tracking, which is when you record the parts, is really important as a musician, I had to be there at the mix as well. And Drea has the patience of a saint, putting up with me. No, like this. No, let's try like this. And he's got amazing ideas. He's a fabulous producer, engineer, and mixer. So it really was an amazing co-production. It was a pleasure and an absolute delight for the three of us to pull this thing together to the quality that it is. I cannot thank them enough.
Did you have a sound that you were going for, or a style that you wanted before you went in?
Yeah, I'm a big Brad Paisley fan, and that kind of production plays a big part in my conception, my perception in my own brain about what I'm trying to do. But also because the reason I love Brad Paisley is because he ticks all the boxes for me. He ticks the country box massively, obviously, but the humor and the rock heritage, not necessarily metal, but the rock heritage. And that's where I come from. I'm a rock guitar kid as much as I am a country a country guy with an acoustic guitar, and country music just makes absolute sense to me. But my sensibility is a rock heritage. So I guess when I went in, I was like, well, I want it a bit kind of Brad Paisley and a bit kind of Midland and kind of then, but now, if that makes sense.
So you mentioned there you're a big fan of rock music. So did you find country music off the back of that, or what made you think country music's the route I'm going to take?
The heritage of it is my granddad used to listen to a lot of country, and he used to tell me when I had the longer hair, and he's like, "You want to stop all this, son? You want to get one of them slidey things." He meant the pedal steel guitar and like this, and he played me Jim Reeves. So I heard that kind of, classic sort of the old, like, when Nashville and some of the older stuff, maybe even some early Willie Nelson, and so he had a collection in which sometimes he would play country music. When I mention the Eagles, it can be a potentially contentious issue because some people want to say, but they're not country, but they're certainly country rock. And all I know for me is that I absolutely adore them. And in my bio, because you've got to have a bio, I trace it back to, I Googled it, and it's about 1984 here in the Monkey Shed, just up there. I won't get up now because there's mic stands everywhere. But I've got the cassette tape that we used to have in our old Ford Sierra. And my parents, we used to play this all the time. And the Eagles' greatest hits is my desert island listening. I'm a huge Beatles fan and I'm a huge Brad Paisley fan, but the Eagles just does something to me, and it's that rock and that country sensibility that I love. I then went on and discovered Brad Paisley, and when I heard Fifth Gear, I just thought that's everything that I want to hear. I didn't stop listening to music, but Fifth Gear by Brad Paisley is just it's amazing. I think it's amazing.
So at this point in the live stream, Bob played an amazing cover of 5 O'Clock Somewhere by Alan Jackson. Sadly, due to boring copyright restrictions, I can't bring you any of that. So, Bob, what's your songwriting process?
It happens in many different ways. It's kind of changed. The biggest change that's happened over time is when you start writing songs, the achievement is that you finish a song, that you get to, let me turn that reverb off, that you get to 3.5 to 4 minutes. And you kind of like, well, I'm done. Yeah. That's great. And I've achieved that. And then you hone it and you get better and better at it. And then you get to the point where you start to write. And I feel blessed now that I'm in a position where I'm able to write what I want to hear and therefore what I want people to hear of me. So my songwriting process has changed in that quite often as a songwriter, you use an instrument. Maybe it's this or maybe it's the piano or something, and you sit at a chordal-based instrument and you play something, and then you think of a tune or a melody to go over the top. That's sometimes how it happens. So a lot of chord choices you might make are based on mechanical memory of what you might do on an instrument and where musically will work. Whereas the change that's happened for me now is I don't hear a song like a mad, crazy vision, but I start to get the idea of a song and I'll sing the melody to myself. I'll figure out what the melody is or what the vibe is. And then I'll go to a chordal instrument and figure it out. Of course, there's things like one of these nights that little bit of the guitar, of course that was me playing on the guitar and finding a little lick and a riff. But the song I'm about to do next, which is Running from the Rain, is a case in point. I was on a motorbike and the rain was clearly behind me. And I just thought, I'm running from the rain. And there we go, songwriter moment. Okay. So I'm riding on my motorbike so I had to pull over and sing into my phone because I had this chorus. Whenever it pours down on me, then I'll make my way. There's a recording on my old phone, like cars going past. I stuck the phone into my crash helmet, lifted the visor, and you can hear me singing it. So then I get back on the bike, and then I think, okay, so what's the verse then? If that's the chorus, what's the verse? And I'm on a bike, so another highway, open road. So then I got to work, and I was like, right, well, cheekily just kind of found a guitar. I thought, what's the chords? What key am I in? What chords? Okay, right then. So a bit more like that. There's another song on the EP called Run, which that song was the first one on this journey where I went, I'm truly writing what I want to hear and what I want people to hear now. And that was very similar. I had that chorus and I just kind of figured out how to bring that song to life using chords rather than birthing a song from chords. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Do you have a favourite song that you've written of yours, or does it change all the time? Or
is probably going to be Run, which is the last song on the EP, because it was the start of everything. I wrote it and recorded it and played it at home to Kerry and to others and my daughters.